Welcome to this new format. I'm trying out a new podcasting style of format where I'm not going to be editing this video and putting visuals in because I think it's a bit more of a talky sort of one. So without further ado, let us get into it. Have you ever noticed how your biggest strength can sometimes get you into trouble? So today I want to talk about how strengths can secretly become weaknesses and how to make sure they work for you and not against you. And I've got 3 points that I'm going to cover off, and I've got a short personal story to share with each one as well. So, point number 1, every strength has a shadow. So, I used to think that my confidence, my personal confidence, was a strength. And then a couple of years ago, I had a manager who said, and she said this a few times, "You've got a big personality, Kaz." And she had a little bit of a look in her eye every time she said it. And I did feel a bit put in my place when she said that to me. And I went away each of those times and I thought about it and I thought, has something happened today or has something happened recently to make her say that to me? What is it that I'm doing? And having some intention, some unintended consequences, by my behavior. So the job that I was in was senior support to the general manager, and she was the general manager. So that was my role, senior support to the general manager. And for sure, confidence was required in that role because I needed to step in for her when she couldn't be there or when she wanted me to be somewhere for her or when I was needed to, I guess, represent her in a way when she couldn't be there. So obviously too much confidence can come across as overconfident or even arrogant. And people generally don't tend to appreciate overconfident people or arrogant people, do they? And while I don't necessarily think that I come across as overconfident or arrogant, obviously I needed to reflect on my recent behaviors, like what made her say that today, was I being acting overconfident, compared to my level of knowledge or expertise at that particular stage in my new role. And, obviously I just wanted to keep things in check. So the reason why I'm talking about this particular example is that, strengths are gifts, but only in the right measure. And another example personally for me is that I like talking and I can talk a lot. And that's fine when I'm making my own videos, for example, like knock myself out, talk myself into a stupor, and people will decide how much of how much of my video they want to watch if I just talk endlessly. But for example, in a group setting, like a group live stream, for example, well, it's rude and inappropriate for me to talk more than my fair share, frankly. And if I did do that, if I do end up by, talking too much, it does unfortunately steal other people's opportunities to talk and therefore to shine, particularly if we're in like a public setting, like a public live stream or even a pre-recorded video where there's a bunch of us sitting around. And, people like me, I think I'm extroverted. I am extroverted. People like me can give extroverts a bad name. just by being insensitive to other people's needs, and particularly introverts who, in their beautiful wisdom, they take the time to think about what they want to say. They're not just like saying the thing and then having a half thought afterwards. So this particular example is definitely an ongoing learning for me to remain self-aware and to manage my behavior. So have you ever had something that usually helps you, but then you have had on occasion cause to pause and think because it's suddenly caused you a little bit of trouble? So yeah, that is the every strength has a shadow, that every rose has its thorn. The second point is balance beats brilliance. And my personal example here is months and months ago, I did a 30-day challenge where a group of friends and we all decided that we would publish a video every single day for 30 days on YouTube and just knock ourselves out effectively. Just put a video out, come heck or come high water. Let's just see how the chips fall, and can we do it? And I guess the whole thing was like resistance training. And if you thought doing one video a fortnight was a little bit tricky, well, maybe if you give yourself a new challenge and you take some different actions, like making lots of videos, and it means that you experiment with the kinds of videos that you make as well. Like, just let's see how that goes. Like, what skills are you going to learn? And I don't know, just how the whole thing's going to go. Are people going to like your videos? Are you going to publish some trash videos? And everything in between. So I did drive myself really hard. I did lots of long form videos over the course of a couple of weeks, editing the videos. And, after 2 weeks of late nights and blah, 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 you can imagine. You've been there. You know what it takes to make YouTube videos. I had a vertigo episode at work because of it, because I was going to bed so very late and my sleep was really lacking. And I was just shocked, actually. I remember at the time feeling and actually vocalizing to like family members, I'm really, really lucky that my body is letting me do all of this, because I was literally writing checks. There's a throwback concept that my body couldn't cash. And yep, then I had a vertigo episode, touching on wood that, I haven't had one since then, and I hope not to have one again because they can be nasty beasts. But that forced me to make a different decision, which is to just chill out, make sure that I don't burn myself out by burning the candles at all the ends, and then just eventually giving up on YouTube because, I just haven't been sensible and I haven't been in it for the long term, but I've just tried to do short-term sprint and then so I decided to chill out. After that, I think that my long form video production kind of like sort of fell into the toilet, like off the toilet seat, like just like a little, I don't know, like a bomb, nosedive bomb into the toilet. And it definitely has affected my subscriber growth and, I don't know, all those things. And I know a lot of people are saying that their subscriber growth has slowed down. And certainly I've found that as well. But I've definitely, it has coincided with me dropping off making long form videos. So anyway, all of that is to say is, does it need to be one or the other? Like, I don't need to do a 30-day challenge. No one needs any videos from me or from probably most people every single day. Well, I don't make interesting enough videos that people are going to want to look at those every day. But then I don't need to go to the other extreme and just be super chill. But that is just to say, it's not about like I either need to push really, really hard or sort of like be just too chilled out on the couch. And I can just find a balance that works. So I've like, I'm just trying this new podcast sort of style. It's a video, but probably like it's not one that's going to be interesting to watch. I hope it is going to be interesting to listen to because so many people now are listening to videos more than watching solely, just like watching primarily, I guess is the word I'm more looking for, videos. So I'm just trying this new little podcast style because I thought actually I have kind of prepared some notes. So maybe I'll just like do the little thing. And also a few of us have been talking about podcasting recently and, just the idea's been bandied around in the community at the moment, like, video podcasts. So anyway, here we find ourselves. But have you ever driven yourself too hard on something that you really loved, and how did you adjust? Okay, so that is my second point. The first point was every strength has a shadow. The second one is balance meets brilliance. And the third point is that self-awareness is the real superpower. I think it all comes down to self-awareness because everyone has strengths and everyone has weaknesses. And if you overuse a strength, it tips into the weakness area. An example, a personal example for me is another thing about my personality that I can be a little bit fearless about is the use of humor. And, I'm all about hey, let's lighten the mood. Let's just get the party going. I'm just always like itching for something a little bit mischievous or playful. Playful is probably the right word to inject into the situation. Until it has, occasionally, it can have the opposite effect. I can just get it wrong. And, definitely what I've learned is that the safest attempts at humour are when the jokes are on me because, that's okay. No one's going to get offended if I make a joke about myself, And if the jokes are on me most of the time, occasionally, if I want to have a bit of a joke with someone, so hopefully, I think that that's probably, hopefully a safe ratio. If 9 out of 10 jokes are on me, 1 out of 10 jokes about someone else, I'm hoping that depending on the relationship that I've got with that person, and I'm hoping that they'll know that I have, good intentions, towards them, and I'm not wanting to make them look terribly foolish or super embarrassed or anything like that. But if they've got a sense of humour, then I'm up for having a bit of fun with them. But, it does depend on your relationship with that person and your history together. And so to this one, like, I try and remember that awareness is everything, and particularly with humour. And if you're like a little bit of a risk taker with your humour, like I am, and, when you are having let's just call it an attempt at humour, then you are playing up around the edges, like of the boundaries, So, there's definitely risk involved for sure. Okay, there's risk involved when you are making a joke and like hoping that the other person's going to find it a little bit amusing. So key insight here, your strength only shines when you notice how it lands on others and take some learning from it for next time. So now that I've just written that sentence, I'm just going to read that again to see if that makes sense. Your strength only shines. So I guess that means is that be aware on the effect that you have. I need to be aware on the effect that I have on other people. And just, I don't want to ruin relationships and upset people and embarrass people by my attempt at humor with them. Like that's a backfire for sure. So just if you want to keep your strength in the strength area, self-awareness is the real superpower here. That's the key, okay? And truly, and I'm saying this to remind myself, but I think just about anything that is a strength, just be self-aware about how much you're pushing it, because pushed too far, that good word becomes a not very good word. Like you've got the confidence going to overconfidence, going to arrogance. You've got the leader who, yes, they like to use their one mouth a little bit more than their two ears sometimes. And I'm speaking for myself as a leader at work. And if you don't listen to people, then, it's a bit of a house of cards, right? People don't want to follow you. You are not going to inspire people if you are not interested in the things that are important to them. And if you just want them to be interested in the things that are important to you, right? Life's a two-way street. And let's be real, especially in a job setting. But I would extend this probably to just life, really, that there's a lot of discretionary effort in life, right? And just thinking about the work example, how many things at work, if you are finding your manager and you're finding the company that you work for or that you've worked for, if you're finding them inspiring and they will make an effort for you and you feel and you think and you believe that they care about you, then there's a really good chance that you are going to care about them and what's important to them. So there's many moments of the day where people make a decision, am I going to do this extra thing, or am I just going to be a little bit presenteeism in my job and just get through the day and to do the thing, stay under the radar and just quietly quit. So that's happening all the time at different levels, of course. But self-awareness is the real superpower here. So have you ever thought about, a time when you were sort of, contributing in a way, or like your strength? I mean, another one is attention to detail. So attention to detail is good, but if it's overused, then it can become like nitpicky or maybe judgmental, or actually it could make you freeze and just not take the action because you are just sort of like, you are so locked in on the activity that you're doing. Oh, my power. Yeah. You are so locked in on the thing that you're doing. You're not able to do that Google Maps thing where you can, like come a little step further. Like, for example, I'm here in my house and the Google Maps, if we go up a little bit, then we see the suburb I'm in. We go up a little bit, we see the city, we see the country, we see the region, we see the part of the world, blah, 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 where I am in the world, all of that. So it's just that attention to detail thing. Like at some point, one needs to just go, yep, good enough is good. That's good and it's good enough and we're moving on now. You know what I mean? Do you have a strength that you're aware that if you overuse it, if you use that muscle too much, then it just tips into the weakness bucket. And you've just annoyed people like your family, your friends, your workmates, your pickleball teammates. So yeah, just to wrap up, so your strengths are gifts. So wise people would tell us that we need to use them wisely and with balance and with self-awareness. Okay, so yeah, which of your strengths do you think that you sometimes risk overusing or you do just overuse? So leave me a comment below, because there'll be someone else around that's got the same strength that they can overuse, and that will resonate with them. And look, if you liked this video, I have made a video about just fear of judgment. So the reason I point to that one is because it has been my most popular video, but I've just got no idea how this podcast format is going to work out. But you know what? I'm just going to make a few, because let's just be fearless, right? Let's keep experimenting. Let's keep trying new things. If we're going to have egg on our face, you know what we do? We just wipe it off, and then we get back in there and we just keep on going. So, you know what I mean? Nobody really cares. No one really cares if you try something and it flops or whatever. That's just a learning. It's a learning, and it's us just, yeah, getting better at our craft. So thank you for listening to this. If you watched the video, thank you for watching the video. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments, and see you on the next gig.